Okay, major pieces of legislation passed during this session.
Cannabis bill, it outlines where you can toke and where you can't.
Right, there's the Education Reform Act, which most notably gets rid of school boards and removes vice principals and principals from the Nova Scotia Teachers Union.
And there's the bill that sets essentially the parameters for the review of the electoral map. It'll be interesting to see where that goes.
When the politicians leave the ledge, in particular the government, I think one of the things they look forward to is being away from the controversial stuff. But there are things that have come up in the last couple of weeks that aren't going to go away even though the House isn't sitting. And I'm thinking in particular, and you touched on this, recruitment of doctors and how the health authority is handling that. But the other one, which was a real minefield for the government in the last week or so, is what's been going on with its Freedom of Information portal.
You know, one of the things we saw this sitting that we haven't seen in a while was a demand for the resignation of a cabinet minister, and that was Carla McFarlane asking for Patricia Arab's head over this leak of information.
As is usually the case, it didn't happen.
Right.
Do you think at this point calling for the resignation of a minister really has any substance behind it at all?
Well, I mean, you do it because there's a little thing we call ministerial responsibility, which apparently has gone the way of the dodo. This is where the minister takes responsibility for everything that happens within the ministry. And in years past, I can tell you, a cock-up of this caliber would have at least had the minister offering their resignation and the premier either taking it or refusing to take it. But how do you think the NDP and the PCs did?
Well, I think the PCs, in particular, the last 2 weeks sort of kind of found a rhythm. They did well going after the government on the Freedom of Information portal. They did well going after the government on the doctor recruitment issue. But they also found their own trouble in the last couple of days. Of course, leadership candidate Elizabeth Smith-McCrossin, as well as MLA Barb Adams, found themselves in hot water over comments that they made while debating the cannabis bill. And I think rightfully so, some people in the public who are pretty angry about what were at minimum insensitive comments, what were potentially at worst borderline racist comments. For the NDP, I think, it was mostly steady as she goes. They had some high points. In particular, Claudia Chender was very strong in her debate on the education reform bill. But I think that this is a party right now that they've only got 7 members in the House. They're very much focused on rebuilding, building their profile, building their brand in hopes that they can be seen as a credible alternative.
Remember just after the budget was tabled, we talked about Eileen O'Connell and the ferret?
Yes.
Look what I got.
You got your own ferret.
Eileen's daughter, Carolyn, who lives in Alberta, sent me a ferret. So welcome to Eileen the ferret, and we'll put the ferret to good use come next budget.
It'll fit in nicely in the red chamber.
Indeed. Will we stay? Yeah. She, say?